out to visit. I was visiting in the neighborhood. So be sure you don't see or relate. Being in real estate doesn't work. Okay. 10 minutes. All right, 5 minutes. At 5 minutes till on that clock, I'll be talking.
You're tapping her chair.
Yes. Oh boy. Let me go over and walk from there.
Oh, you got it?
Give me like those donuts.
Oh, you and John. You and John are in. That's a specialty.
Yeah.
That's a specialty.
You have so much you got, not what everybody else.
Right. Yeah, John, the white-haired guy, he was always in track sales.
Would you get cheese sandwich?
You got a coffee pot out here?
Sure.
Yeah, you gotta wait. Chris, Marquis. Well, it's just, I'm sure it'll work out all right. Yeah, big deal.
But they're huge.
It's still on. It's on.
Some people say I would never use a pitch book. Some people don't even know what a pitch book is. Do you know what a pitch book is?
Presentation.
Presentation manual, right. They say all kinds of things about a presentation manual. But let me tell you how long ago I started using a presentation manual. This goes back to many, many days before Help Yourself, before the other company that we had, prior to Help Yourself. But I started using a presentation manual many, many years ago. And in my presentation manual, I have proof that I'm a member of the California Real Estate Teachers Association. In here I have proof that I was a member of the Board of Realtors. I have things that show all the things that we did under those other companies. But in the book that Linda's going to give you, if you don't have a section set aside that makes it so that you can say, show and point to, I'm good. This is what I do. I'm a member of the I'm a realtor just like everybody else is a realtor. I'm a member of this multiple. Here's some of the different types of ads that we write and we do. You get everything in this presentation book that you do, and you never ever fail to get a letter from every buyer and every seller that you represent that will write it for you. And then every buyer and every seller that says, sure, have them call me at 9 o'clock. Just don't have them call me after 10 if you need some help. And then how do you not get those people to answer the second time? It's like a bird dog. How do you kill a bird dog? You don't feed him. And people don't necessarily do that for money. They do it for there you go too. But when you take them a box of candy or a big bouquet of flowers, or send them tickets to a play, you don't have to pay them in money, but you do have to recognize them. You have to recognize them. You can have every closed buyer that bought a house through you. That is your most powerful center of influence that you can ever establish with your church, your Kiwanis, your Chamber of Commerce, anybody else that you want to fool with. You don't waste your time with people who cannot help you unless you're doing it because you have entertainment benefit, but not because you think that group of people are going to help you. You can establish such a strong, hey, everybody in town that ever bought a house knows you, and knows you're good, and knows you're fair, and knows that you don't slough off on them, that you're there when you're needed. But let me tell you another thing. This is not, as I said yesterday, this is not a 7-day, 48-hour day week, work day, or week, work week. You gotta have time for your loved ones, because if you don't have time for them, then it doesn't matter how much money you make. That's not even important, because you could find yourself losing them. And if you don't remember, the only reason that you make money is because of them, then you're in big trouble. But you have to have their permission sometimes in order to set your goal and to reach your goal. They have to have the understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it in order to get you to your goal. A goal is not a selfish thing. It cannot be a selfish thing. It's got to be shared with the people that help run your life daily, day in and day out. Prepare yourself to serve the sellers first and foremost. Let the buyers fall where they may. Another real little fancy word of wisdom. Does anyone know who said this? Probably not. It's too many years ago that was said. Benjamin Franklin said that. Many, many years ago. And how do I relate that with selling, or how does anyone relate that with selling? Is having, when you have told someone your story, and then all of a sudden you hear them telling it back to you, then you know that they're buying. Because they will tell it back to you. And they will convince you that the Help You Sell program is the best thing they've ever heard. I've had so many people since we went into Help You Sell say, those realtors are sure ripping the people off, and I hesitate for a long time before I say, but I are one. We didn't realize to what extent that the public does not like the real estate profession until we got into Help You Sell. And you new people will start finding it out. The public does not like real estate people because they think they rip them off. They really literally think they rip them off because they see them when they take the listing, and then they don't ever see them again if it expires. But the next time they might see them is when they have an offer to purchase, and they think, you're going to work full-time for me? Well, how could that girl work full-time for that one individual seller and not work for all the others that's two? So you can't be working full-time for one person and be working full-time for someone else at the same time, can you? You can't say I work full-time for you. And that's what the National Association of Realtors are saying on their video, is that gal said, I'll work full-time for you. You're just going to work for me alone, huh? Nobody else. You're going to come over and hold open house every day. You're going to go up and down the street, knock the doors, and invite the people over to come and see the house, because you see, where does the buyer come from? The majority of the time, the buyer comes from friends or relatives that live in the neighborhood. Majority of the time. buyer comes from friends or relatives that live in the neighborhood. The ones that are transferred from out of the country get in those neighborhoods maybe by chance, but the majority of the time, the buyer comes from friends or relatives that live within the neighborhood. That's why our marketing program is so good. That's why you have to know. You have to know what you have to offer, and you know how to use it. You got to know how to use it. I get to play my goodie one.
So far, we've seen how Lillian prepared for the listing appointment. We saw her arrive at the Harris house and open the appointment. We watched as she presented the reasons for listing in general, with her company, and with her. What you're going to see next is a part of the listing presentation that can be difficult. Pricing. To see exactly why pricing can be so sensitive, let's go back to the sellers we met earlier.
We figure that our house is worth a lot more than the other homes in the neighborhood. Look at all the improvements we've made.
Laboratory downstairs. Nice, huh? The carpeted dungeon. Wall to wall, I might add.
And we've also added an electric opener for the drawbridge and a preservamatic embalmer and dryer.
The tombstones I take. But I will leave the trenching machine if the buyer wants.
And we'll also leave the 3.5 baths.
3.5 baths? I must have miscounted them.
No, bats. One's just a little baby.
The point is, all owners think their house is something special. And while it may be special to them, the market might not agree. Let's watch how Lillian handled pricing with the Harrises. You'll see her first describe the pricing process to the sellers. Then she'll show the comparable listings she's researched and present a suggested price range to the sellers. She'll also show the estimated net proceeds and, if necessary, use those figures to help secure agreement on the price.
Before we start talking about the price your house should be offered at, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the way the market determines the sales price and the market analysis that I've done. Well, first of all, it is the market that determines the sales price a seller can realistically hope to get. If the price is too high, the market doesn't support it. If it's reasonable, the market provides buyers. And if it's too low, you don't get the best price obtainable. So while the seller sets the price, the market determines the value. And sometimes sellers ignore the market. As an example, let me share with you what happened to a home that was listed over in Rock Park. The owners committed a common mistake. They thought it would be okay to start high and then come down in price. It was on the market for 2 months longer than it normally takes to sell, even though the owner finally reduced the price. Oh, it sold at a lower price. But the ironic thing is, it might have sold earlier, possibly at a higher price than the owner finally wound up getting.
Oh, why is that?
Well, because a lot of the activity in a listing comes from the listings new during the first 2 or 3 weeks. If the price is too high, buyers won't even look. Well, and other salespeople won't show it. Later on, the price might come down, but people tend not to pay as much attention then.
Well, how about our house?
Well, to make sure that won't happen to you, I've done a thorough market analysis. I've gathered all the information I could about your home, information that will affect market value in one way or another. I've taken into account many factors, including its structural condition, extra features, the remodeling you've done, size, floor plan, and so forth. But then I researched the market. I gathered up listings of homes similar to yours that have sold recently in this area. I used a form just like this one.
Days on market?
That indicates the number of days that the home was on the market before it was sold. I also locate listings for homes similar to yours that are currently on the market. These will be the homes that potential buyers will compare to yours. And I have listings for similar homes that didn't sell. Those tell us something too.
Tell us what?
Well, there are many reasons why homes don't sell, but usually they come down to price, terms, condition, and the marketing a company and a salesperson do. Now, I've described what my company and I can do to market your home, and you both seem to feel we could do a good job, right? With condition, we're referring to how the house appears. With your house, that's not a problem because you have a very nice home. Now that leaves price and terms. Terms are the types of financing that you would be willing to consider, and price is the amount of money you'd like. Most homes that don't sell are overpriced. They stay on the market too long, become shop-worn, so to speak, and may not even sell with price reductions. So you can see pricing a home is very important. The homes that have sold, well, those currently on the market, and those that didn't sell, provide the information we need to establish a price range for this piece of property. This market analysis form shows the properties I used as comparable to yours. Now, these are the homes currently on the market. But these are the ones that have recently sold. Oh, here's the house on Maple Street that I mentioned earlier. The terms that each sold for are here.
So that's what houses like ours have sold for.
Right. And here are the homes which didn't sell, expired listings. Oh, notice that the asking price is quite a bit higher.
Oh, what do these figures mean for us?
They tend to indicate a price range within which we'll probably be best able to sell your home. Here's the range I see for your home, based on these comparable listings. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's not quite what we had in mind. We think our home is worth more than you do.
Well, what did you have in mind?
Well, we were hoping to get a little bit more than you're telling us we can.
I can understand that. For discussion purposes, let's use this probable sales price and see what the proceeds will look like. I've worked out the net proceeds using a couple of different financing alternatives.
Pardon?
Depending upon the buyer's financing, your selling costs can vary.
Oh, right.
Now, here's the net proceeds if the buyer uses conventional financing. Here are the selling costs. And if the buyer uses FHA or VA, here's what you receive. The difference comes from the costs.
Like I said, we want more than that.
I can appreciate that. Let's talk about it. Now, my concern is that you might find yourselves in a situation similar to the owners of that house in Rock Park that I talked about earlier. Well, the market analysis shows the probable price range for your house. Mr. and Mrs. Harris, I really feel it's in your best interest to put the house on the market at the price indicated here.
You know, we were not comfortable with that. We'd still like a little more.
Well, what would you be comfortable with?
We were hoping for $5,000 more.
Well, as you can see, that puts you above what buyers have been paying for similar homes, and also above your competition. Why don't we put your home on the market using the top of the price range in the market analysis?
I suppose so.
Yeah, I guess that might work.
Fine. Now, what I'd like to do then is stay in touch with you, and as salespeople show your home, we'll continually analyze your competitive position to determine if we'll need to adjust the price.
Well, I guess that'll be okay.
All right. Let's go over the listing agreement. And then I'd like to explain what happens from this point until we have a qualified buyer. Oh, and also what happens from the time we have that qualified buyer until closing. Because we do want to make the entire process as smooth as possible for you.
That's for sure.
What did we see? For one thing, we saw you keep the lines of communication open. Very important. The Harrises looked like pretty reasonable people, and you wanted to avoid a stalemate over price. Another thing, you told them why you were explaining how you derived the price.
Well, I wanted them to appreciate that pricing a home isn't guesswork, that it involves a lot of effort. And I want those figures to be credible.
You explained the sales process, talking about potential pricing problems.
Yes, this alerts the seller to the consequences of setting the price too high. You know, I often use a third-party story about other people, another home to do that.
Okay, and all along you solicited feedback about what you were saying. And I noticed you weren't afraid to keep asking for agreement on price, perhaps approaching it from a slightly different angle each time, as you did with net proceeds.
Well, the agreement I got was a culmination of the entire listing presentation, starting with initial appointment and the preparation I've done beforehand, running through the open and the discussion of why list, and moving into the coverage of pricing.
And the final agreement built on all of the smaller agreements along the way, on why the Harrises should list, on your company, on your ability, and on price.
After we came to agreement on price, well, I began to gather the few remaining items I needed to fill out the listing agreement. I reviewed the agreement with the Harrises, then got them to approve it and commit to putting their home on the market. Now, as a final step in the presentation, I explained the rest of the sales process. Well, that included describing my role in marketing and servicing so that the Harrises would know exactly what to expect in those areas. Oh, and I also explained what would happen from the time a buyer's found until the transaction closes.
Thank you, Lillian.